Welcome to Module 2 of the Lifelong Reading Techniques with Phonics. In this module, we'll be looking at the alphabetic code, encoding and decoding skills, and the very, very important phonics skill of phonemic awareness. As I explained in the previous video and in the class, phonemic awareness is a very, very important skill to have. And so I'm going to run through these slides very, very quickly. The purpose of this video is just to guide you, to explain to you exactly what happened in the class, and then to also help you to understand what information is on the slides. Okay, so let's move. The objective of this lesson includes, I have four objectives here. One is to show understanding of the English alphabetic code, the simple and complex. We've talked about that briefly. And then also is to demonstrate the ability to teach phonemic awareness. It is important that you as a teacher understands phonemic awareness and know how to teach it and how to practice it and how to enhance it in children who may not have the ability initially. But with practice and with help, they'll be able to actually learn phonemic awareness. The third thing that we're going to do is model the 44 sounds of the English language. Um, so go through all of that as this video goes on. So as a form of warm-up, we looked at the things that we discussed in the last lesson. So the advantages of teaching reading using the SSP. In the class, we actually interacted. I asked people to recall all the things that we had talked about, the advantages of teaching SSP. So I would encourage you also to do so at this point. Think about the advantages we talked about. See if you remember them. If you don't remember them, you can go back to the video or to your notes and actually think about them and put them in mind, because it's important for you to know why you want to use a particular method to teach rather than any other method that is out there. Other things that we discovered in the class include the concept of phonics, the fact that English letters and sounds do not have a one-to-one correspondence. We also looked at some kind of introduction to the English alphabetic code. I stressed in the last video that phonics is a lifelong skill. It is not just for children. It can be used to teach both adults and children to read. Even as an adult, as a grown-up, you would still find yourself recurring to some kind of phonics skills when you need to do so. The advantages of using the SSP, I'm going over that again because it's important for you to know them. It is quick, it is thorough, it is explicit, it is systematic, it is consistent, and it's very efficient in teaching children and people generally how to read. So the objective of this lesson, once again, at the end of the lesson, learners will be able to exhibit their ability to teach phonemic awareness. They'll be able to do sound differentiation exercises, sound manipulation exercises, and then we're going to try to sing the English alphabetic code in sound. We're going to sound and sing. So we'll be using the tune of the ABC song and trying to sound along. It's a very, very weird sound, but it's something that you could do and enjoy doing so that it can help you remember the sounds of the English alphabet, the simple code in this case. And then you demonstrate mastery of teaching, encoding and decoding skills, and also tricky words. So there are three concepts that you need to take note of at this point. It's important for you to know and to differentiate between them. The first one is the letter. That is the name that you say when you see a particular symbol on paper or on a screen. The name that you say is the letter name. Okay, so in this case, Z is a letter name. And then the one that you hear when someone says it and you hear is the phoneme. That's the sound of that letter. And it is, in this case, the example I've given you here is Z. That's the sound of the letter. You don't say Z in / No, you say Z. The Z, with the slashes, the two slashes, is actually a sound. Once you see a letter that has the / one in front, one at the back, you're actually talking about the sound and not the letter. The phoneme is the sound that you hear. So Z, once the letter is in the slashes, it stops being a letter and it becomes a sound. And then the third concept that you need to understand clearly is the grapheme. It is the picture or the graphical representation of the letter that you see. That's what you see on paper or on the screen right now. You're looking at a grapheme of the letter that represents the sound Z. So I've used the lips to represent the one you say, that's the letter. I've used the ear to represent the one you hear, and that's the phoneme. And then the eyes represent the one that you see, that's the grapheme. You need to understand those three concepts. So the sounds of the letters of the English alphabet is now what we're going to look at. And I'm going to model each of the sounds one after the other. As I model them, please listen so that you can hear them clearly, okay? Should I move any closer to the screen? I hope it doesn't look weird. Here we go. Ah, ah, k, k, d, e, e, g, g, I, I, j, j, k, k, mm, 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 o, o, qu, qu, er, s, s, t, t, a, a, v, w, w, x, x, y, y, and z, z. Okay, those are the 26 letters. What I've just done is demonstrate the simple code. That is the sound that you think of when you see that letter for the first time. That's the simple code. And then I give them in class the opportunity to repeat after me. So I'll give you the same opportunity. I'll say the sound, I'll pause, and then you can repeat after me. Okay, let's go. Ah, ah, k, k. All right, so I lost power there for a second, but I'm using a ring light now. Although I don't like how it's reflecting on my face, but here we are. Okay, so ah, b, k, d, eh, eh. Notice that for the sound, the upper lip is on the bottom, the upper teeth rest on the bottom lip, and air is pushed out of the mouth. So next one is g, g. In the class, we use several different activities as memory aids to help practice. So for the we use the analogy of running around the stadium. We have a fantastic ultra-modern stadium here on the university campus. And I asked the learners to imagine running around the campus, um, and that the first person who got to the end of who got to the finish line was going to be given an iPhone 16 Pro Max. And so we were all running in our minds, trying to be the first one to get there. And at the end of the race, we were all breathing, we were all producing the sound of H, which is, you could use that kind of analogy to help your students remember the sound of that letter. We also use another analogy for the I sound, because it's often confused with E, the long I sound. But in this case, we're talking about I, which is a glottal sound. And it is, the analogy we used was, I told them to imagine that their young child had gone to school on Friday, taking lunch to school in the lunch bag and brought the bag home, forgot to bring the bag for washing. And so the cooler is in there. The food has been in there since Friday. By the time you open it on Monday morning, you would definitely gag at what you smell and what you see. And that's why it helps you to remember the sound because it's a gagging sound. It's like you almost want to throw up kind of sound. Okay. Next one is j, j, j. Then k, k. I hope you are repeating as I go. Next is oh. Okay, we have power back. Power has been restored. Next one is The tip of your tongue is raised to the back of your top teeth and is touching your gum right behind your top teeth. It's not li, it's not la, but so that you can have lemon, lemon. Okay. Next one is You touch the two lips together and you make that vibration sound. The sound comes out, but there's nowhere for the air to go because you have closed up the lips, so the air stays there in the mouth. Next one is This time you move the tip of your tongue to the back of your top teeth and you press on it. So like the air is coming out of your nose in this case. Next sound is oh. Oh, your mouth has to be rounded like an oval shape when you're saying this sound. Oh, oh. Next one is p, p, p. As we discussed in class, the sound p and b are pronounced from exactly the same position, exactly the same um, uh, position, and using exactly the same organs. The difference between p and b is that the b is voiced. It has a vibration that accompanies the movement, unlike p, which hasn't got one. So p and b are both plosives, bilabial plosives. And so when you produce them, you touch the lips together and the air explodes out of the mouth, but one is silent or voiceless and the other one is voiced. Next sound is qu, qu. It's the sound that Q represents, and it is like a combination of two sounds, like a combination of k and w, the W sound. Okay, so it's kwa, kwa, kwa. Not kwa, but kwa, kwa. No vowel sound should follow it. No aspiration should follow it. It should just be kwa, and that's it. Next one is roll the tip of your tongue back to the top. You don't touch the roof of your mouth because if you do, you will vibrate, and we don't want a vibration. So it's just red. Next one is you can demonstrate writing it in the air. You can demonstrate like a slippery snake. You can make the sound in the letter. You can draw the letter in the air. All of those help the children to remember the sound. Next one is t, t. Another plosive. T, t. Next one is ah, 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 ah. Then there's v, v, w, w, w. Next is x. It's like a K and S sound combined. X, x, x. Then there's y, y, and z, z. At this point, we also demonstrated the subtle differences that exist between three vowel sounds, the a, then the o, and then the a, a. And we used three words. I wrote the words at the board, and everybody got an opportunity to sound or to read the three words together without any break, so that you should be able to tell the difference in the three words. So we had cat, caught, and cut. Cat, caught, cut. So CAT, COT, and CUT. You can also practice that on your own. And then next we had an opportunity to sing the alphabet, the sounds.
A, B, K, D,
So
E,
you can sing along
G,
if you want.
I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. I can sound my A, K. Next time, won't you sound with me?
Okay, so that's the abacus sound. And so these are the sounds that accompany the song. It's not actually cooperating with this mode of recording. So I'll just
A,
run through the slides anyway.
K,
Okay, here we go.
D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. I can sound my A, K. Next time, won't you sound with me?
Okay, folks. So once again, we bring this up again, the fact that the English alphabetic code is a full set of letter sound correspondences that determine how written English is spoken and how spoken English is written. And the English alphabetic code is what we now want to look at. The charts was sent on the platforms prior to now, and so everybody has had a chance to interact with the chart. Um, and so we had a practice session in class where we looked at the simple code being the first irregular spellings for vowels and consonants that you think about. You see a letter, you think about this sound. You see a letter, you think this is the sound it represents. That's the simple code. The first sound, the first or regular spelling that you think about when you see a letter or a vowel letter or a consonant letter. That's the simple. And so here, here we are, a page from that or a section of that document that was sent to you. You can enlarge, zoom into the one that you have so you can look closer. So what we have is the IPA symbol, the vowel phonemes, and then the letters, how they are spelled. Okay, the letters that represent those sounds. The same was done for the consonants. You can look down the list and see the simple code. You see this letter, you think this sound. That's the simple code. And then we now went into the complex code, which is the alternative spellings for vowels and sounds. And then I removed the blockade on the part of the chart, and then you're able to see other ways that the sound can be represented. So the A, we said in the simple code that is represented by A, which you can see there, the example of the word is at. But then next to it, we have another way that A can be spelled. In this case, it is AI in the word plait. So you plait your hair. You don't plait your hair. You plait your hair. And then we run through the all the 20 sounds there. Um, you have for under, you have A for aid, and then you have AI, AY, EY, A, EA, EA, AE, and oh, there's an error in the spelling of Sunday there. Yeah, it should be AE. And then there's cake, the long A, and then A in eight and A in straight. All of those different spellings represent the same sound, can represent the same sound, A, depending on how it is spelled, the pronunciation is exactly, regardless of how it is, or how these are spelled, their pronunciation remains A. If you look at number 9, the sound there is O, represented by OA, OE, OW, single O, OE, and then dough for when you're baking bread, DOUGH, and then plateau is not plateau like we normally say here in Nigeria. It is plateau, plateau, and then you have soul there. We also looked at, there was one with leopard. Okay, eh. We had that one in class. And when I got to the word leopard, I said, how do you pronounce this word? Of course, I got leopard. And then for leisure, I got leisure. But those are not correct. The sound is so it is leisure and leopard and says. Okay, all of those are examples. So you can go through the words in the chart and use that to practice your sounds. And remember, if you're not sure how one is pronounced, so for example, you get to the point of leopard, you've already seen that we're talking about the sound eh. So it's a sound in the word egg, is a sound in the word head. So if you get to leopard and you're not sure how to pronounce it, just refer to the previous one, refer to the simple code, refer to the simple code column, and you see the sound, and then you come back and insert that sound in the word that you're trying to produce, and then you'll be able to see. So in this case now, you see EO, and you're used to saying leopard, but then you know that the sound, as highlighted by the red spelling, is supposed to be e. And so that tells you that that word is leopard, not leopard. Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, next we go to the complex code for the consonant. The same thing, different ways of spelling the same vowel sound. Okay, so if you look at S there, you have S, you have ES, you have CE, you have SE, you have CE, you have CI, you have CY, you have SCI, and TLE, you have that there, and then you have PU in pseudonym, castle, scissors. It's really tiny. I'm struggling to see those tiny words. But when you get in your own version, you can expand it and you can see the words clearly. Remember, use your simple code to remind you of what the complex code should sound like. And so for number 9, and the letters MB are highlighted there. That means that that word is not thumb, but thumb, because the sound of the simple code is so it is thumb. And column and palm, not palm, not palm, but in this case the LM makes a sound so it's palm, the palm of your hand, the palm of your hand. Okay, all right, so use that in your independent practice to figure out how the sounds are to be the spellings are to be sounded. And so here the class was given this homework where you have to learn to say the 26, to sound the 26 letters, that's a simple code, and then the 44 sounds, that's a complex code. Please learn them so that you know, because you're going to teach them and you cannot teach what you don't know. All right, so at this point we have completed the English alphabetic code, the lesson on that, and we have seen that, all the different letters and correspondences that exist. And then we move on to phonemic awareness. We didn't get to do this in class today because we spent so much time on the practice, and that was more important to me than rushing through and not getting the exact sound correctly. And so now we're going to go through phonemic awareness. So this is new for everybody now. At this point, when you're watching this video, this is new for everybody. And so please pay attention. Although we are talking about having another class, a 1-hour class at some point, but I'm not even sure how that's going to work out. So let's just do this video and then at least we have it. If we don't get around to do 1 hour of a physical class, I'll go through the lesson on phonemic awareness now. So what is phonemic awareness? It is the ability to hear and manipulate the sounds in spoken words and the understanding that spoken words, so once you're able to hear and manipulate the sounds, that's one thing, that's phonemic awareness. The other thing, the other aspect of it is you need to understand that spoken words and syllables are made up of a sequence of speech sounds. You need to be able to hear these different sounds when you hear a word. If you're not able to hear the sounds in the word, then you lack phonemic awareness and you might struggle to read and to spell. So you need to understand phonemic awareness and be able to practice this skill. There's a reading material here, Developing Phonemic Awareness in Young Children. As a teacher, you need to read through this material so that you can understand how to help your children who may lack phonemic awareness skills. So in the previous slide, I said that phonemic awareness is the ability to hear speech sounds clearly. So you hear the word sat, you hear sat, and then you're able to isolate the different sounds in that word. So you can hear sat, and you realize that there are three sounds in that word sat. Okay, so that's ability to hear the sound. Then ability to differentiate the sound. So you can tell your from your v, your b from your d, your sh from your ch. You should be able to hear the differences in the sounds and be able to write them down if you need to, because you are able to differentiate them. And of course, there's the manipulation of sounds as well. You need to be able to manipulate sound. You can add, remove, or swap. So for example, if you have the word dog, and I say to you, add the sound s to the word dog, you're not going to end up with dogs, but you're going to end up with dogs, because the plural form of the dog with the voiced consonant at the end will be z, not s. Okay, the voiceless vowels, the voiceless consonants take the sound. So like kiss, at the end there is a voiceless consonant s, and the plural will be kisses. Um, yeah, so let's move on to the next one. Actually, I don't think kisses is a good example there. Kisses is an example of ES. Um, a voiceless sound like dip, dip, D-I-P, p at the end. If you make it plural, you get dips, dips. So you get your S sound there, okay? But a voiced consonant like G, dog, plus S becomes dogs, Z, not dogs, S, but dogs. So voiceless consonants take the s, voiced consonants take the z sound. All right. So we're talking about sound manipulation. What I just did there was incidental teaching. You will have many opportunities to do that. We are talking about something, you come across another thing that is related. It is good as a teacher to be able to explain the connection, because it makes your learning more robust, the learning of your children more robust. And so the manipulation of sound also includes removing one sound, putting another one in, and still being able to read the new word that has been created. So if I tell you, for example, take the word dog, remove the d at the beginning of the word and replace it with a f, you should be able to give me the new word as fog. You took away the d, replaced it with a f, and so the word dog will change to fog. So why is phonemic awareness important? Well, successful reading skills and learning skills depends on knowing that sounds are made up of discrete sounds, words are made up of discrete sounds, and knowing that graphemes represent phonemes, and knowing that sounds can be manipulated and changed. You can take the words apart, you can put them back together, you can change parts of it. This skill, this exercise is something that you can have fun with your children in class. You can write on the board, or you can use wooden letters or plastic letters, remove one sound, remove one letter, put another one in, and tell them to sound the word now. That is manipulation of sounds. It's a good exercise to practice phonemic awareness. So we want to practice that now. Looking at isolating phonemes. How many sounds are in the word cat? I asked this question before. There are three sounds in it. What is the first sound in the word cat? Cat. You ask your child that, and the child will think about it, and the child should give you the sound k. Okay? And then another question, what is the last sound in the word cat? Cat. And then the child gives you t. Okay? What is the middle sound in the word cat? Cat. And the child should be able to give you a. I hope you noticed that as I asked the question, I stressed the particular sound that I wanted the child to hear and isolate. I stress the particular sound. So when I said, what is the final sound in the word cat? Cat. I stress the t so that it sounds louder and longer than the others. Okay, so or when you want the first sound and you say cat, you emphasize the k, so it's longer. And when I was asking about the middle sound, I went cat. It was longer and louder than the first and the last sound. Deleting phonemes is another exercise that you can practice with your children. So you can say the word clap, clap, and you can now ask, what do you get when we take away the k at the beginning of clap? The child should be able to give you the word lap. You remove the k, you're left with lap. At the time that I was designing these slides, the first word that I actually used was slap. And then I realized that when teaching young children, you don't want to use negative words with them so that they don't try to practice what that word is. You know, children can be quite adventurous and quite excited. So I decided to change that word from slap, which was the first one that I wanted to use, to clap. Okay, so be careful the examples you use in class. Make sure that they are safe words that can be used around children. Be mindful of that. Okay, deleting phonemes is the next one. So you have the word frog. What do we get when we take away the in frog? You should be left with fog. The child should be able to tell you because once you remove that sound, the remaining three letters are there. The child should then be able to sound those three letters and come up with a word, even without looking at it. If you say frog, frog, okay, you can visualize, teach your children to visualize the words because oral segmenting is a very important part of phonics as well. Being able to hear the word and identify and isolate the words that are in there, the sounds that are in there. So they can close their eyes and imagine the word written on paper. You remove the what are you left with? Frog, and they should be able to give you fog. Okay? So teach them to visualize the words written down on paper. And then deleting sounds again, you have the word bug. What do we get when we remove the b at the beginning of bug? Don't say you don't get any word now. That's not a word. In phonics, every word is acceptable. You have ug, ug. That's what you have. Okay? Words that don't have a meaning are called nonce words, and they're perfectly allowed when you're practicing phonemic awareness. You can come up with a word that that isn't really meaningful, but it still is good for phonemic awareness. So looking at blending individual phonemes, um, if you have three sounds, at, you should be able to blend them together to get the word sat, b, at, b, at, b, at, bat, at, 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 fat. And then this one is at, rat, rat. So then there's also another practice that you can do with them is blending onset and rhyme. So you have your rhyme class, in this case, at. So you have your at down, and then you bring your different onset letters to put there. So you start with s. So the child will not need to say at anymore. The child will say at. Remember, you've established the at as the rhyme, okay? So you have at down, and then you now add this in front of it. You get at, sat, b, at, bat, at, fat, and the last one, at, rat. Segmenting phonemes, oh, power is gone again. Segmenting phonemes, individual phonemes. So you have the word sat, and then you can break out the individual sounds in it to sat, bat, b, at. You practice, you say the word to the children. How many sounds can you hear in this word? Bat, bat. And then the children will give you different answers. You might be fortunate that they all give you three sounds, and then you ask them, name them. What's the first sound? And then what's the second sound? And then what's the third sound? Like that, you turn it into an activity. And then the third one, fat, the other one, rat. There you have it. Segmenting phonemes, if you're working with onset and rhyme, so you have sat, you can tell them to segment it into two. So you have s, at, at, b, at, at, and at. Then substituting phonemes is another activity that you can do with the children. So you say the word cat, and then you say, what do you get when you swap the k with a p? So you remove the k in cat. Remember, we're not dealing with letters. You're not dealing with letters. So be careful not to say if you remove the C. No, we're not removing any C. There's no C anywhere there. It is k that is there. So when you remove the k and you replace it with the p, what are you left with? Your k becomes what? Pat. That's it. Substituting phonemes. Say the word sled, sled, and then you ask the child, what do you get when you swap the O with a k? What do you think you get? Can you try? Remove the O and put a k in its place. You should get sked. Once again, it's a nonce word. It doesn't have a meaning grammatically, but it is a word that you can use to practice your sounding skills. Then you can add phonemes. So you have the word spat, you say the word out, you can write it on the board, you can show them on a flashcard, and then you say, what do you get when you add O after P? So you have a P. You want to insert the sound O after P. What do you get at this point? The child, depending on their age, this should be maybe like third grade, should be able to do this. Get the word splat. And then adding phonemes, you have the word click, click. What do you get when you add an okay, in this case it will be the sound. So when you add a s, so it shouldn't be an, it should be a s after the second k. So in this one there are two k's. There's k, o, e, k. The the last two letters together make one sound. The last two letters k and k. So you don't say k, l, e, k, k. No, you say k, o, e, k. The two letters make one sound. So what do you get if you put an S after the second K? You should be able to get clicks, clicks. So the homework for this section will be sent to you. Um, I think I've changed this Google form, so don't use this link. I should have changed it before. I'm not sure if I've changed it here. Anyway, I'll send the link to you in the class platform. Um, the link is for Google form. The form contains 8 questions. Questions 9 and 10 are also there, but unlike 1 to 8, where you must answer on the form, questions 9 and 10 require that you do a voice note. So you look at the questions for question 9, practice what you need to do, practice well, and then record a voice note. The same thing for question 10. Practice what you need to do. You might even write the answers down and then just sound them one after the other when you are recording. I don't want to hear uh, 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 rat. If I replace the in rat with a t, I will get tat. No, I just want you to look at the question, do the replacement, and then give me only the correct answer at the end, which in this case of the example will be tat. Okay, so don't say rat, I remove the R, I put a T, and then no, 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 no. Just give me the correct answer. 10A, tat, 10B, fac, 10C, fed, whatever. That's what I want. I don't want any long story. Okay, so 9 and 10, just give me the recording. Once you have recorded in only one voice note, I will only take one voice note per person. You know, we have quite a large contingent. I think we're about 36 now. So just one voice note per person. And that voice note must be posted on the class platform because everybody needs to hear and we all have to grow and progress together. So if there's one that is perfectly done, I can use that one and say, go and listen to that one so you can get that as an example. If you only send to me, then others will not know how they are doing. So you need to actually put the voice note on the class platform. One voice note for questions 8 and 9. I mean, sorry, question 9 and 10. Only one voice note. So you might have practiced and written everything down and then start recording your voice note. Make sure you're in a quiet place so I can hear you clearly. Remember, this is all about sounds. I need to hear the sounds clearly. If you have a car, you can sit down in the car and close all the windows for a few minutes and then record. Or wake up very early in the morning before everybody else around you wakes up. And then you can quickly do the recording as well. You're supposed to submit on Sunday. Sunday the 10th, or is it Sunday the 11th now? I'm not. The instruction will come again on the WhatsApp platform, but you're supposed to submit on this Sunday coming up. So today is Thursday, so you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday by 8 p.m. is the deadline. So you can start working on the assignment by now. The link to the form will be posted on the WhatsApp platform along with these videos, so they can all be in the same. The next lesson, we're going to look at 5 basic skills for reading and writing. We're looking at learning letter sounds, learning letter formation, blending, identifying sounds, and then spelling tricky words. All of that will be handled in the next lesson. You're also going to look at incidental teaching. We're going to be looking at how to teach grammar, punctuation, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension along with your phonics class, because there'll be words that the children are unfamiliar with. You should be able to explain the word. There'll be concepts that might be in the reader that you're using for them. You need to explain what those concepts are. There might be questions that you can ask them to improve their comprehension skills. All of those things will be done incidentally along with your phonics class. We'll learn how to get that done. If there are any questions, please ask your questions on the platform, and then I can answer and everybody else can benefit from it. Remember to keep your phonics questions on the phonics platform and your neuroscience questions on the neuroscience platform, so that everybody is, people are not inundated with so many questions relating to different things. We'll keep the different units segmented. All right, thank you very much. If you have any message, any question, please send a message to the phonics platform.